worksite is now the centre of a major cluster concern.
At least 13 workers are positive.
90 mine workers have been forced into isolation in WA.
This is exactly what Australia's $155 billion iron ore sector is trying to avoid: a COVID outbreak at mines throughout the Pilbara. Work to limit the spread of the virus starts before daybreak, as many of the state's 76,000 miners take a rapid antigen test before flying to a site for their 2-week roster.
Hello, how are we doing?
In January, 2 Rio Tinto workers tested positive at the airport.
Those individuals are very confidentially and quietly just taken away, where follow-up testing for confirmatory PCR is undertaken. Then we work very closely with the Department of Health to then manage that individual as is required.
Last August, FMG experienced a similar close call when a contractor tested positive after returning from one of its mines.
Can I just take your temperature?
There wasn't any further spread, but FMG workers have been having rapid antigen tests since then.
That's been incredibly effective. Actually, it's good to know that people have actually been picked up in those testing facilities.
BHP hasn't been so fortunate. In January, a contractor tested negative before flying to a mine, but days later they tested positive on site. Another 4 workers later developed the virus. 79 were tested, 34 were quarantined in their rooms for a week, unable to get back to work.
It's not just regular rapid antigen testing that these workers are undergoing. The WA government has also mandated they all have their 3rd vaccination within 1 month of becoming eligible.
Protecting our single most valuable commodity is a priority for government, particularly as we head to the polls. Australia exported 677 million tonnes of iron ore last financial year, worth $155 billion. $10 billion in royalties went to the WA government. The more the miners export and the higher the price of iron ore, which is now worth about $200 a tonne, the more company tax the miners hand over to the federal government. Capitalising on those high prices is dependent on a strong workforce.
With the WA border closed for most of the last 2 years, there's a major labour shortage here, with the cost for workers continuing to climb. All 3 big iron ore miners say that cost is starting to eat into their bottom line.
Clearly that does have an impact in terms of our day-to-day operations. It is certainly causing some challenges at the moment.
As workers become sick and have to isolate, or entire operations are shut down if there's an outbreak at a mine, production will be hit.
As labour costs will rise and you won't be able to get jobs done, and you have lots of dislocations within the projects, and we're concerned that we're going to see some weak quarterlies.
Brazil's iron ore sector was crippled when COVID entered its operations. The Pilbara Port Authority doesn't think that'll happen here.
We have multiples of miners, many of them very large, number one. Number two, most of them have got a suite of mines. So when you spread your risk like that, you're not vested in everything all in one mine.
But Brazil's slowdown did push up the commodity price. So we could see a situation where production falls because COVID hampers operations, but commodity prices rise because demand remains.
Then I'd expect to see iron ore continue to actually trend higher, which is not a consensus view. If we saw that the Chinese government started to run into some other issues, then you could see actually iron ore have a bit of an aggressive sell-off.
As with all best laid plans and predictions, only one thing's for certain, especially when it comes to COVID.
We're going to have to respond for the circumstances that we face each time. We can't stand here and predict exactly what will happen in the future. Certainly, we're seeing greater cases in the community, and so we have to be ready.
Ready to live with the virus.